Cam Newton obviously sort of rewrote the college football record books when he came from Florida via Blinn College to Auburn way back in 2010. They win the national championship, defied all conventional wisdom. You know the story. So then Cam Newton is a top overall draft pick, goes to Carolina. You know that story too. Cam Newton also runs a 7-on-7 team in, I think, Atlanta. That's where he's from. And that brings us to today. Someone was asking me, several of you sent me a clip of Cam Newton talking to his 7-on-7 team. And some of you wanted to know what my thoughts were. And I went back and forth about whether I should put this in the show tonight. Because I talked with some head coaches today. I sent them the clip. And I asked some head coaches, what do you think about this? And you'd be surprised at how mixed the reaction was. So, of course, I've got to do you the respect of showing you what he said. I'm going to do for you what I did for myself. I'm going to break it up into two pieces. They're very short clips, but I had Director Collins split this up into two pieces. I'm going to play you the sound. I'm not going to tell you at all what I think on the front end. I want to play you the sound, and then I want you to react. I'll tell you exactly what I think. So this is clip number 1, Cam Newton talking to his 7-on-7 team.
You think Nick Saban needs you? You stupid. You're going to Tennessee? Half y'all going to schools that don't even offer you. If you're good, it don't matter where you go, they gonna find you. I promise you that. A lot of y'all want to go to the Alabamas, the North Carolinas, the North Carolina States. Y'all gonna be there for 4 years and not have a meaningful game.
So I'm not in love with this. I will say this though. I don't know the full context. I don't know that he was asked a question or not. I don't know if he was just volunteering this. I don't know how that got teed up. So I'm just gonna take it for what it was. Obviously, there is a certain caliber of athlete that is not going to make it at Georgia and not going to make it at Texas A&M or Oklahoma. And obviously, it's in their best interest to be real with themselves, and it's in their best interest for parents, guardians, coaches, etc., to be real with them. You got a kid that can't run a sub 4.9 40 and he's a wide receiver. Don't be selling him on the idea that if he really just works hard and grinds, he can go start at Ohio State. No, he will not. Brian Hartline's not letting that happen. And Brian Hartline, he's got heart in his last name. He's got a real big heart. But he also loves his job. And I don't think he's going to put it on the line for a kid who couldn't outrun molasses in December. So you need to be real with kids like that. I will grant you, Cam Newton, if you're sitting over in the corner, I will grant you that. Okay? That is not what I take, word of the week, umbrage with. I can't stand this one thing that people say a lot. I hate it when people say, hey, if you can play, the NFL's going to find you no matter where you are. Because it's technically true, but yet it's also intellectually bankrupt. Them finding you regardless of where you are is not the goal. Maximizing yourself is the goal. This reminds me a lot of people who use the term 6 figures. How much does she make? Well, she makes 6 figures. That tells me nothing. Tells me nothing whatsoever. Do you know what the difference is in bringing home 125 a year versus 640 a year? Well, it's just 6 figures. No, it's not. It's like saying you drive a car. That tells me nothing about how you get around. Hey, I made it to the NFL. Well, were you the 23rd overall pick in the draft? Or were you a late 6th-round draft pick who did not make generational money on his first deal and then tore his knee and never made it to his second deal? I'm telling you now, it very much matters where you go, because I could clone myself. And one of me goes to Georgia, and one of me says, you know what, they'll find me wherever. I'm going to McNeese State. You fast forward 4 years. Which version of me is more likely to be drafted higher? Not even talking about my work ethic. Let's just say both versions of me completely grind it out, keep my nose clean. I do everything in my power. I'm a model citizen. Which version of me 4 years later is more likely to be drafted higher? That's what I would care about. I care about maximizing my potential. And there's some places that are obviously far more resourced and equipped to develop you, neck up and neck down, to maximize that potential. The NFL will find you wherever you are. Let me tell you what will happen. If you're 6'6", 250, like Cam Newton, and if you have alien physical traits, they really will find you. Especially if you're a quarterback, they will find you wherever you play. You can play club football at Columbus State University, and if you're Cam Newton, they'll find you. None of you are. None of you. Nobody in that room, and chances are no one watching this right now is Cam Newton. So if you're not Cam Newton, if you're not the 0.00001% in the country, you better be very cognizant of where you go. I would also say there are things out of your control that will greatly impact how you wind up and where you end up in the draft or in life. You take care of what you can control, but even then, you open your phone and you see stories every day of people who just suffered bad luck. Or alternatively, I look at college football players who are not going to hear their name called on draft day in the coming weeks. And there may be a story behind it that doesn't have to do so much with them not taking care of business on their end. Maybe they went to a place where nutrition was well behind par. Maybe they went to a place where the structure and support staff wasn't a fraction of what it could have been if they chose their second school or third school. That stuff's out of their control. Maybe their position coach sucked. Maybe they were in a position where they were put in a compromised situation academically. That stuff's out of their control, and yet that's a real thing that you have to consider. So that's the first takeaway that I have. Can't stand it when people tell you, "Oh, they'll find you. The NFL will find you no matter where you go." It's not about being found. That's nice when you're 10 years old. If you're playing Pee Wee right now, if you're playing Pop Warner and you say, "I want to make it to the NFL one day," that is wonderful. But when you realize you've actually got the critical traits and you're a senior in high school and it's a real possibility, that's not the mentality anymore. The mentality is, hey, I've got the God-given stuff and I've got the intelligence. Those things I possess. I need to start getting real with myself about which of these destinations can best equip me. Who's going to take care of the stuff that's outside of my control? Who's built the best infrastructure? Where's the most fertile topsoil out there? And if you're good enough, you absolutely need to be going to one of those top schools. If you're not good enough, this conversation wasn't for you to begin with. But he wasn't done. Cam Newton was not done. Colin has actually another clip, and this one, I think I get where he was trying to go. I just don't think he got there. Roll it.
Put yourself first, because when you play for that G, when you play for that A, when you play for that T, when you play for that AU, bro, they're putting themselves first. They're bulletproof. Nothing and no one will ever mess up their situation, whether a quarterback, receiver, DB, nothing, coach. Man, those schools are bulletproof. So to think that they want me, they need me, man, bro, they don't need you.
I'm going to suggest something. I'm going to suggest they do need you. If you're an elite football player, I'm going to suggest they do need you. I think the point Cam Newton is making is there is no one individual that will sink these programs, these major universities. And he's right. I don't know what question he was asked. I'm not sure what was said before or after. I credit him for having the Chick-fil-A bag in the background, okay? All due respect there. And as we all know, when you say all due respect, you're allowed to say whatever you want about someone. That's just the rule, right? I think he was trying to make a point I agree with, at least partially, but let me just dive in a little bit further here. We're in the player empowerment era, right? We're in the era where you would lead me to believe that the value on these guys as individuals is really high, and they should be compensated. And you're not getting much of an argument from me on that until someone walks in and starts spouting off things like, these schools don't need you. Well, if they don't need you, what in the world is your value? Anyone ever stop to think about that? Did anyone raise their hand and ask Cam Newton, hey, if I'm worthless to these people, if I don't matter, if they'll make it with or without me, what kind of money should I be expecting from them? I don't really know what the follow-up would be because we didn't get to see that Q&A exchange, but the priority structure at these places, someone trying to tell you, oh, Georgia's going to exist with or without you. That's true. What's the point? I don't get what the point is there. And also, hey, these places have their best interest in mind. Texas A&M football is out for what's best for Texas A&M football. Of course they are. Whomst amongst you goes to a place of business tomorrow morning and you walk in and the boss comes to you and says, profit, yeah, it's great. Growth, in an ideal world, but really, I just want to cater to you. Do you like your parking spot? Could I change things in the vending machine for you? Are you happy? Because I don't care about our P&L. I don't care about the critical metrics. I just want to make sure you're getting what you want. That's not the way it works in basically any walk of life. It's not the way it works in college football. Here's the difference. The difference is if you got a regular 9 to 5, they really could do with or without you. If you're an elite 5-star tailback, let's just say, and you go to Clemson, their best interest and your best interest overlap. Clemson football has to stay on top. They need players like you to be able to do that. It's in their best interest, therefore, that you are taken care of, that you are developed to your max, that you are promoted and marketed and propped up and kept healthy and fed the right way. These are things that benefit you. You also get invaluable rub against a major college football brand because, see, there's value in the fact that those are massive brands. There's value in it. All of a sudden, you come to Pate State, and I got that Freights logo that existed before you were born, and there are billions of dollars in equity built up in that thing. Well, all of a sudden, I get to rub my name against that. Guess what that gives me? It gives me value. So it's in my best interest and their best interest for the same things to happen. You do the old Venn diagram of best interest, me versus the school I go to, there's a lot of overlap. So I don't know what in the world Cam Newton was talking about. I don't know what was said before or after. I think that there was an attempt to say something profound there, and instead I just heard words.